He is the author of the #1 best-selling book, Liberty and Tyranny, A Conservative Manifesto. Now, folks, it has been #1 on the New York Times bestseller list for 11 of the last 12 weeks. Live from the bunker where very few people have been, the great one, Mark Levin. Thank me. God bless us. How am I? Welcome back to the program.
I'm welcome. Thank you. Yes, good to see you, my friend.
You just got news, what, 11 out of 12 weeks on the New York Times list?
Isn't that amazing?
Well, it's amazing, but
maybe somebody at the...
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe somebody at the New York Times might actually read it.
Well, this is the point. Earlier today, I did an interview with the Philadelphia Inquirer. This is the first press outlet to ever call you about an interview, correct?
No, it is, and it's basically because I'm from Philadelphia. Look, I'm not fishing for the lib media to review my book. I know what they'll do anyway. We don't need them. We've got over 1 million in print, about 750,000 sold, and we're still chugging along without them.
Mark, look, I love the book. We've talked about it at length. You've been here. You launched it right here on this program, and it's a great book. And by the way, a good Father's Day gift if people are looking for one, because you go back...
You just like the cover with my picture on it.
Yeah, no, well, I like that, and you even powdered your head for it. It was great.
I did. That's right.
And we're good friends, but this is an important topic, and that is about liberty and about freedom. And this is your constitutional attorney, and you talk a lot in this book about the statists. Now, look, I finally agree with Barack Obama. We're at the point of a catastrophe. You know, he talks about, I think the banks are in crisis, the economy's in crisis, health care's in crisis. We can't even stand up for Iran. The crisis is the Obama presidency, though. But you explain, that is the statist mentality. Explain that.
You've heard of voodoo economics? This is doo-doo economics, I think. The bottom line is what Obama's doing, intentionally so, is trying to wreak havoc on the private sector, trying to create as many drones of society as possible. That is, people who have to rely on government for their basic, food, welfare, medicines, and so forth. You know, I think there's a fly in here. I think I'm going to do an Obama just like that. But anyway, so this is part of the strategy. This has been going on for decades, since before the New Deal. And let's remember, Obama got 52.7% of the vote. And while he can say that he had a mandate to take the society and turn it on its head, he did not. And polls coming out today are showing that the American people are extremely troubled by his reckless, massive deficit spending, the most reckless deficit spender in human history. They're extremely concerned about what it's going to do to future generations, to the currency, to the full faith and credit of the United States government. And the point is, he's not done yet. I mean, this is the problem with the statists. Where do they draw the line? Since they've basically evaded the limits of the Constitution, what are the limits? There are no limits.
Well, Mark, I think this gets to it. Now, you're right. I think public opinion is finally beginning to catch up here. But when I look at the banks and I look at the government taking over car companies and dictating CEO pay and all the different issues we've been talking about in detail, and I know that you're talking about on your radio show, you know, I'm thinking, how do we ever recover from this? I mean, the amount of money that we're talking about is staggering, and as you point out, they're not done. You know, now we're talking about $1.6 trillion in health care.
The way we recover is we warn these moderate Democrats, what's left of them in the United States Senate and House, and some of these more liberal Republicans, that if they go along with this agenda, they're not moderate and they're going to be defeated. While Obama may still be popular, although I think that's going to start to ebb, his policies are not, and they're not Obama. So they're going to be targeted. I'm going to target them through my radio show, as are other people, and we are going to chase them down politically and defeat them and expose their records. If any of these people have voted for these massive trillion-dollar deficits, and if they want to destroy the doctor-patient relationship and place some bureaucrat in Washington in lieu of that relationship, we are going to make that known, and we are going to defeat these people.
What do you make of Obama saying it makes no difference which side wins in Iran, and that by the way, the United States, we're meddling, Mark? Because I went back, and Ronald Reagan, when they cracked down with martial law in Poland, Ronald Reagan stood by the people that stood for liberty and stood for freedom, the very issues you deal with in your book. This president is willing to meddle in Israel's affairs. What do you make of those comments by him?
What I make of this is if Barack Obama had been president instead of Ronald Reagan 25 years ago, Eastern Europe would still be enslaved, the Soviet Union would still be in power, hundreds of millions of people would be living behind the Iron Curtain. Barack Obama is boxed in by his ideology and inexperience. And what he has done is he sent a message to the tyrants throughout the world that now is their chance to do what they seek to do. North Korea is utterly out of control now, firing off missiles like firecrackers. They have no fear whatsoever of Obama, and that is a very dangerous situation. Iran is intimidating Barack Obama. I'll tell you what bothers me. I've seen some video of these 4 or 5 ruthless barbarians beating the hell out of a poor student in Iran, and I think to myself, you know, I have an 18-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter. What must these parents be thinking? They are brutalizing these students, and the best our president can do is attack the Fox News channel.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. You know, Mark, there are the people, and you have a lot of fun on your radio show, and you talk about these backers, and they've been lecturing people, their audiences, about the need that the conservative movement needs to embrace Arlen Specter, needs to embrace Colin Powell, who wants bigger government and voted for Barack Obama, that they need to embrace Susan Collins and Olympia Snowe and Lincoln Chafee. And I stand with you. You worked in the Reagan administration, that the antidote to this is Reagan conservatism. Explain what you mean when you say that.
Well, you know, we didn't get Ronald Reagan because of Susan Collins, Olympia Snowe, Arlen Specter, and Colin Powell. They benefited from Ronald Reagan's victories and from his policies and came to office after he cleared the way. So it's important to remember that. Ronald Reagan invented Colin Powell, and Arlen Specter, who couldn't win a statewide election, won on Ronald Reagan's coattails. That is, conservatism properly understood is an all-embracing, big-tent philosophy. Liberty is, national security, a transcendent moral order. We believe that each individual has a conscience and an individual spirit, that we have to defend our civil society from the statist. I try to get across in this book that we conservatives, when we understand our history, that we stand on the shoulders of the great minds and the great leaders of the past and 5,000 years and more of human experience, that is our philosophy, whereas the statist has no real, doesn't stand on experience. He wants to experiment with human nature, has a high tolerance for misery, not his misery, for everybody else's misery. And this has been tried before, and it's an utter and complete failure. We have a lot to be proud of. We should embrace it and promote it.
Mark, I got to tell you, Levin, out of the last 12 weeks, #1 on the New York Times list, Liberty and Tyranny, a conservative manifesto. It reminds me of Barry Goldwater's Conscience of a Conservative. And by the way, good Father's Day gift.
I appreciate that.